iniciar la grabación. Como saben, el doctor Gazden ahorita se encuentra todavía en la actividad en Perú, para ver el comité, la asamblea del comité 176 de la ISO. El día de ayer y antier han tenido reuniones bastante significativas, bastante laboriosas, con la finalidad de pues, proponer, impulsar la apertura del comité para la revisión de la ISO. Entonces, pues ha sido también un reto y un gusto estar acompañando las actividades allá desde Perú, y poder tener también este contacto con quienes pueden gestionar estas actividades. Pues nos llena también de gozo, de gusto, porque la ISO pues puede seguir funcionando, puede seguir actuando. Y pues más o menos para compartirles un poco de qué ha sido pues este avance, esta actividad. Se ha grabado parte, o más bien todas las conferencias que ha tenido el doctor, pero les queremos compartir principalmente pues a manera de resumen, una parte de algunas conferencias, y compartirles también los comentarios, las preguntas que van haciendo los participantes, para que podamos también ver como por dónde pueden venir las mejoras, los avances de esta revisión de la ISO 18091, que incluso también es muy importante para nosotros conocer estas posibles pues, oportunidades de mejora, tanto para la implementación de la ISO como para nuestros propios gobiernos. Bueno, sin más preámbulo, quiero comenzar a compartir este video, y esperamos poder tener también al final algún breve tiempo para poder hacer algún comentario o alguna aportación. Incluso, eh, digo, no cabe fuera, digamos, de las sesiones, eh, pero que podamos también ir teniendo esta visión de conjunto sobre la ISO 18091.
Good morning. We are going to start our session in relation with ISO 18091. We are right now in Peru, in Lima, and this special session is about the international standard for quality in local governments, which is an approved standard in different levels from 2005. AGUA 4 was at the very beginning, 2005, 2009. The second version was approved in 2009, and in 2014 was the ISO 18091, the first in the first stage. In 2019 was the second level of ISO 18091. In the systematic review did by the 176 Technical Committee last year, this standard was approved for the next 5 years until 2029. But the new thing was that this ISO is used in 57 countries as a national standard. And 14 of those countries asked the 176 Technical Committee if we can review this standard in order to work in better condition to improve that in one hand, and in the other hand, this standard has been very useful in relation with the implementation in a comprehensive way of the 2030 United Nations Agenda. Well, with this purpose, this session has the objective to think carefully about what we should do in the future with this standard. My name is Carlos Gazden. I am from Mexico. For 15 years, I was the convener of the group of 72 experts from 34 countries that developed this standard. Let me say before that, I was in charge of all the municipal governments in Mexico, and later I was the president of the RIAD, the high-level authorities in the continent of the Organization of American States in relation with local governments, civic participation, and decentralization. I have been working for more than 35 years in relation with local government worldwide. And for this reason, I am in this position to introduce this standard and to explain. It could be very interesting if we can introduce our audience. We have 27 participants from different countries online, and in presence, a group of attendants of the 176 plenary assembly in Lima, just in the plenary of the 176, which has been held here. Well, we have 28 attendants from different parts of the world: Rwanda, Botswana, Philippines, Mexico, India, Italy, Latvia, Washington, and of course the people who is here in this room. I want to be sure that everybody can be listened. The agenda is very simple today. It's to introduce to ISO 18091 and to discuss what could be done with this standard. We have some suggestions. At the end, we can give the ideas and to receive your feedback in order to see what could be the next step with this standard. Well, let me introduce to ISO 18091. I want to introduce a video which was produced by Sergio Mujica, the current General Secretary of ISO, speaking about ISO 18091 some years ago. Please.
Welcome to this launch of ISO 18091, Quality Management Systems, Guidelines for the Application of ISO 9001 in Local Government. On this very special day, I would like to extend my warm greetings to all of you on behalf of the ISO family and its 164 national member bodies. The public sector is the largest service provider in any country, with a mandate to manage everything from transport to civil protection. The challenges include balancing the expectations of citizens with budget constraints, environmental impacts, and demographic changes. In these tough economic times, local governments need to effectively manage the available resources and work together in a collaborative effort. This is where ISO 18091 makes a real difference. It is the first ISO standard that gives guidelines on the implementation of ISO 9001 in local government. The standard aims to help local authorities maintain a high level of service while improving sustainability. ISO 18091 is a roadmap for local governments to organize themselves in a comprehensive way. It aims to empower governments to take concrete actions and serve the local population by making politically viable those things that are technically indispensable. The standard also creates a useful tool to assess progress across the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals designed to transform the world by 2030 and ensure the continuity of administrative performance needed to sustain their implementation at the local level. With ISO 18091, the real work begins with all our local governments. Together, we have an opportunity to really make a difference, to make the SDGs a reality in our local communities and bring out positive change for the future. I wish you all the very best on this launch of ISO 18091 and on spreading the word to your local governments. This ISO standard has great potential. Let's make sure it is widely known and used, all for the good cause. Thank you very much.
Well, after these words of Sergio Mujica, the introduction of this standard, I want to give some ideas before to go deep, but to go for the principles that inspired this ISO. Well, the main issue that we imagine when we are working with local governments or governments in general is transparency. and efficiency. But this standard go beyond that. Beyond transparency and efficiency, there are intelligence and passion. Transparency is a very important issue. But beyond transparency, there is intelligence and effort to discover the truth, which make us free. To discover the truth is a very important issue. With sincerity and with a lot of respect, this international standard is inspired by Alcoholics Anonymous. Let me explain why. Who can transform an alcoholic? The only who can do that is himself. He needs to discover what kind of ill he has and to name his ill and to say exactly how this ill is working on himself. Otherwise, he's going to lie or he is going to say something that is not the real truth. We cannot work with this kind of subject. We need somebody that discovers what kind of sick he has. To discover as well the potential that he has, because any sick was part of his life later. We need to discover what is behind the sick and to discover the potential of this person. In the same way, to work with government, we need to name exactly what's happening there. And this standard helps to discover where we are in relation with governance. For this reason, truth is very important, because truth is the subject that makes us free. And it is necessary to have freedom to see the truth, and intelligence and effort to design a common future. To design a common future among a population. Sorry for this statement, but the slaves do not design the future. They are leading to another place that they don't design. The important issue for a town, for a region, for a country, is to design what should be their own future with others. These principles are key principles in this standard. Beyond efficiency, it's important, efficiency, yes, of course, it's important, but it is not enough. Beyond efficiency is the passion of doing what we cannot stop doing. We need to discover many issues that we need to face in relation with our territories, our people. Beyond transparency and efficiency, there is the building of reliability, trust. To build reliability, we need transparency and efficiency, but more than that. Building reliability requires intelligence and effort, truth and passion. The ISO 18091 was made to build reliability in governments, in citizens, and ourselves. To build reliability, we need all of our intelligence and our will. It is indispensable to do it within the truth and with the truth. These are the requirements, and we urgently need reliable government. But we cannot have reliable government if we don't have reliable citizens. For this reason, this standard works with both sides, government and citizens. Let me say something in relation with public policies. In 2012, in the first stage for the balloting of a working draft, well, we received some negative votes, one from Japan. And well, I met with the Japanese leader of the group, and I asked him to have a meeting in order to know better what was his position or their position in relation with this standard. And a specific standard, given directions, guidelines, and the Japanese leader said, well, it's sector specific and it's leading a general standard. And well, when I had the opportunity to speak to him, I asked to him just to look for one issue of a city. I asked him, what kind of issue you can consider when you are talking about local government? He said, well, we can speak about water. Okay, speaking about water. And I asked to him, what do you think when you are talking about quality in products in relation with water? And he said, well, water should be potable water. It doesn't have any contamination. of course, this is quality in product. Specifically, it's not just contamination. You cannot have more than 7 parts in 1 million of organic contamination. It's a very specific issue because the human bodies are standard. Everybody in all the world have the same characteristic in relation with health. We cannot have any particular element of mercury. Is it right? Yes, it is. Okay, perfect. We are very clear about quality in products in relation with something important in our city. Well, talking about services, quality in services in relation with water, what does it mean for a city? Well, at least should get 95% of the population with this kind of quality in water. That's a problem. Of course, more than that. We cannot use pipes of plumb. Yes, we discovered that the plumb, when it's used for water, maybe can contaminate a city. Okay, correct. Okay, let me ask to you, is it true that you cannot allow that somebody die because he hasn't water? Of course. How do you call that? In what kind of quality are you located? People who die because they don't have water. It's quality product, it's quality service. Well, I say to him, it is not an exam. I can say to you, this is a public policy. Public policy is ethics behind product and services. Ethics is human rights. If you have clear the ethics and the public policy behind products and services, you have a direction, something that you need to face. You have a compass. Is it true? Yes. Well, all of them are public policies. Public policies give direction to quality in products and to quality in service. But the word public policy doesn't exist in ISO 9001. Public policy is the key issue in governments, in general, in any government. You cannot work with governments if you doesn't have very clear what public policy means. Well, in this session, at the end, he told me you could have a positive vote from this standard. Wow, it was what I was looking for, and we received that. But he asked me another thing which made me the weak. He said, when this standard will be approved, can you help us to improve quality in our local governments in Japan? I say, well, teaching quality for a Japanese government coming from Latin America. I think it's real interesting. Thank you. Of course, management system. Let me say something important as well. In the United Nations 2030 agenda, there are no management system. We have goals, we have indicators, but we don't have management system. And if we don't have management system to get these goals, something is missing. Well, this ISO 18091 provides to the 17 development goals of the United Nations agenda the best management system in relation with quality that we know, which is 9001, 2015 until now. This new paradigm includes as well universal minimum needs, information technologies, governmental transparency and ethics, organizing citizen participation based on hard data, which is very important to have data, and people can participate in the decision in their own community. Well, the ISO 18091 can provide an essential map to understand the government, locate and manage projects, and guide and organize an effective citizen participation in the misunderstood and unexplored ground of local governments. Without a map like this one, inclusion in democratic governance will probably touch only the surface, but difficultly will achieve the horizontal and vertical transversality needed by public policies to be effective. You have here a map that maybe you never saw before. 3 levels of government working with citizens. And when we don't have that, we are doing something that doesn't work well. It's parallel government working in the same place with the same people, but not communicated among themselves. In the last months, I participated with Universidad Carlos III of Madrid in relation with the DANA, the heavy rains that fall in local municipalities in Valencia, in Spain. And the three levels of government didn't work together. They blame each other. But the system, management system of public policy was not working. It's not good that this kind of thing happen in the world. We have the key to do that. ISO 9001 can help a lot in relation with how to produce an integrated, a comprehensive management system with quality, public policy by public policy, working together in relation with the citizen needs. It's something that happens everywhere. Different areas in the governments, in all the world, doesn't speak each other. They work separated. Well, ISO 18991 helps in this process. Citizens could send thousands of messages. However, this communication difficultly will become coherent and reliable in its application and answer. It is necessary a model which allows effective interaction with government to get satisfactory results. Beyond the efficiency, it opens unsuspected levels of effective and passionate participation, seeking the common benefits of citizens. Let me say that 2 years ago, in a meeting in Belgium, in the European Commission Week for Regions and Governments, I discovered that Ukraine has 18091 as a national standard. Ukraine could be useful for them to have 18091, yes, of course. The reconstruction of a country after a war should be a goal. This standard is a fundamental roadmap to make politically feasible the technically indispensable things. Technical things exist. They are in the universities, in hundreds, millions of experts. Technical issues are available from artificial intelligence. In this moment, we are working with 20 municipal governments in Mexico in a national agreement to work with them in circular economy in one way and with ISO 18091 in the other way. We want to do the same in Peru, to do the same in Colombia, in Brazil, and in Argentina. And in November, we will be in the smart city of Barcelona, and we will have 20 local governments in Spain and 20 local governments in Italy. We expect that. Learning each other from our own experience, from our own mistakes. Try to learn how we can work, not just the technical issues, which are very important, but how they can do politically feasible. This is the issue. Let me say that in the design of the United Nations 2030 agenda, the local governments were not present. They don't sign the Paris Agreement in 2015 or 16. We should have them in the signature of this document, country by country. 17 Sustainable Development Goals are the United Nations agenda and a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. These aims also seek to strengthen universal peace in larger freedom. They include 169 targets that seek to strengthen these universal rights. For this reason, ISO 18091 has unique characteristics. It's a map. It's important to have a map, of course, not just the map of the street. It's a map in your mind to see public policy working together with people. It's a viewer. You need to see things. It's a language. You need to speak clearly about what we can expect or what we don't want to expect. It's a task distributor. You can work with 40,000 employees in a local government, working together with all of them. But at the same time, it's a systematic integrator. You need to work with one management system for all of them. It is a translator of measurement system with its Rosetta Stone function, the Annex D. For this reason, it is a new paradigm. It was different of the current paradigm in the world. Current paradigm in the world is related with best practices. I don't have anything against best practices. They are very good thing. The problem is that you need to work with all the best practices together. It is not possible. You need to work with all the minimum practices in a local government that you should have. All the minimum practices in all the public policies together. When you work with the best practices, you are in the focus of one objective, and you put behind you the other things. You need to work in a comprehensive way. In this moment, United Nations is calling to use 3 of the 17 development goals. It doesn't work. You need to work with the 17 together, or you can provide. But your priority became a dependent variable, and you have many other independent variables that you need to consider, because everything works together. Life is in such way. Well, ISO 18091 2019 for reliable government. The international quality standard well implemented in a local government can reflect the commitment and leadership of the people who make up the public administration. Citizens can recognize themselves in their government and work responsibly for the common good. And it needs a coherent system to do that. There is no other tool like this in the world. It allows to operate holistically the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, as it is the most extensive and complete map of public policies in the world. For 15 years, we worked with 72 experts from 34 countries. This is the most comprehensive public policy map. It provides the 2030 agenda with the best management system that exists in a comprehensive way. The 2030 agenda lacks a management system. It has only goals and targets. And it is the national standard of this subject for 57 countries. And in 2 of them, it's a mandatory, India and Panama. We need to learn what is happening with this mandatory in what is happening there in India and in Panama. We need a kind of mandatory instrument. And a standard is the best way to make something mandatory. I cannot see to put in jail any president of any country that don't fulfill the requirement. I cannot see that. But I can see as the international standard, which are compulsory for behavior, it's a best way to explore. Let me say that in Vietnam, my shooter, which is here online, introduced me to the Vietnam government. It's very interesting. They are using ISO 18091 at the national government level. And later with the, I don't know the number, but maybe 60 regional governments of Vietnam. And they were asked us how to work a pilot experience in the local government. The first question that I said to them is, why did you start in the reverse? Why you started from the national government? You need to start from the local governments. And from the local governments to work until the top, organizing everything in relation with citizens. Well, we need to learn from Vietnam. When you have a national standard, you need to translate in your language. You need to put in order your legal system to work well with an international standard. You can see there some of the countries that adopted ISO 18091 in the world. Let me show that in another map. Those who are in orange are national standards. ISO 18091 is a national standard. And those with are in red, Panama and India, are compulsory, mandatory. It means that 29.7% of the 192 countries registered in the United Nations has this standard in their own country. This is important that it has. I am very happy to be here in the 176 and with the new authorities of our technical committee showing that. It's an opportunity to do a better work. This is the data in relation with population. Those 57 countries, until the last year, I don't know how it is right now, but until January 2024, 43.61% of the population in the world lives in that, with this international standard. Is it worthy to do things with them? It's a very interesting opportunity. For this reason, Marshall told me, we need to use that. We need to incorporate more ideas in relation with that. If we don't do anything until 29, everything works. But with this kind of opportunity, we need to learn and to lead some effort to help local governments worldwide. This is an opportunity. This is the impact that we could have. Let me say, years ago, I went to Madrid in a very important university. I had 300 people in front of me. I introduced ISO 18091 to them. At the end, some person there stand up and told me, well, the standard is magnificent, thank you. But with what kind of authority you can speak about quality in governments coming you from Mexico? I never expected that question. It came from myself very deep, and I said to him, with the authority that we know exactly what we don't want for our own local authorities. With this authority, because we know perfectly well what we don't desire for anybody. With this authority, and we know everybody in our countries what's happening, but we need the tools to organize that kind of thing. This is ISO 18091. It's an expression of a common 91 as a national standard. Maybe you can see your country. Of course, I could see that our new leaders in 176, their own country has a national standard. France, Norway, you can see that. It's an opportunity to share things, to learn each other. But we need a tool, or tools, but something that can be useful as a language for everybody. Improves the quality of life and sustainable development through a roadmap turned into a score of the entire governance system. Improve quality in the life with organized participation of citizenship in comprehensive citizen observatory. This is the Annex C of the standard. Working with civic participation. It's an agenda of international reliability recognition that can help everywhere about reliable governments and reliable citizens. Is it important in economics? Well, in the last year Nobel Prize of Economics, Dr. Robinson, they received the Nobel Prize of Economics because they explain why countries fail. And one of the reasons, the most important reason, is the institutional mechanism doesn't work properly. This is the key issue. We have this tool. Citizens and public servants will communicate easily through a common language of 39 public policy indicators, enabling a model of citizen participation organized under commitments and pacted mechanisms impossible otherwise. Why does ISO have to standardize government? Asked us Alan Ryden, the General Secretary of ISO. Never occurred before. And I ask it because governments are the most important provider of virtually any human activity on this planet. Local governments are where we are born and grow up. That's where our whole life is. They cannot not be trusted. Two negatives. It's a very contundent confirmation. They need to be reliable because we ask for that. We trust them with our lives and our future. We give them our kids, our health, our own life. They should be reliable because the name of the game is to make politically viable the technically indispensable. To put these words in the introduction of ISO 18091 was very difficult for me. Maybe because I am not a native English-speaking people. But it was difficult for me to put this word. But at the end, I say to them, we cannot leave that aside. The name of the game is to make politically viable the technically indispensable, ISO reliable, United Nations sustainable local government. It has additional benefits. It works with human rights, measured and certified if we wish. Vertical transversality among the different levels of government from the local. One of the issues that I want to discuss in this group that we are proposing for, if the Assembly approve that on Friday, is the name of the standard. It's not just quality in local government, it's quality from the local government. Quality in the local government and in the other levels of government, which are providers, a chain of providers through the local government. We don't have any system in relation with the intergovernmental relationship. Well, this standard has 10 chapters in 4 annexes. Before, in 2014, we have 8 chapters, and we had in that time 2 annexes. A check-up evaluation system and a typical process that you need to look in a local government. But now, in 2019, we have 4 annexes. The first 2, one, Holistic Citizen Observatory, and the Rosetta STEM function. And it was approved with 96% of positive votes in the 176 technical committee. This is the map. Very simple. 4 aspects working together. The 2, the 3rd, and the 4th are the 21 agenda approved by United Nations in Rio de Janeiro, 92. Any development should have sustainable economic development, inclusive social development, and sustainable environmental development, working together. If one of them, of those 3, is not present, this is not development, this is growing. But be careful. Cancer is a kind of growing without order. We need to have social inclusion in any system of economic development, and also to have environment in the other hand. But when we try to use that in Mexico, years ago, when I was in charge of all the municipalities in Mexico, in the federal government, facing what you need to do with all of them, we saw very clear that we need institutions, and this is the one here. If we don't have institutional development for good governance, we don't have subject to do the other 3. And you can see here in the circles, which the red is the unacceptable practices level, the yellow below the acceptable practices level, and the green, the acceptable practices level. We should have all our practices in green, at least. The platinum circle is the practice. Nobody can have all the practices, the best class practices level. It is not the way to do that. We need to do as when we go to school. My grandson said to me, Grandpa, I have 10 in a scale of 10. I have 10 in behavior. Oh, great. And how are you in mathematics? 3. And in biology, 2. And in language, 4. No, please. I allow to you to have 6 in conduct, in behavior, but you should have 6 in everything. The same should happen in all the local governments in the world. This is an international standard opportunity to work together. We need to pass the year. We need to pass the minimum practices everywhere in all the countries. This is a standard. And well, you can see here the 39 public policy that it has. It's the expression of these 4 aspects. This is the biggest public policy map you can ever see. The biggest that I saw is Colombia, ¿Cómo vamos? How we are doing things. It's the name of a very interesting program in countries. Colombia, ¿Cómo vamos? They have 26 of these 39. This is the biggest, the largest map of public policies. And let me say, the red, we don't want reds, but they are very important. I think it's more important than the green one, if we can say that. Why? Because when we have clear what is red, we can imagine what is green for contrast. The reds are the pain of society. These kind of things we shouldn't have there. And people is very conscious when you ask them, what kind of pains you have in your community? And you can say, maybe water, maybe in relation with poverty, maybe in relation with urban planning, maybe in relation with transparency, or accountability, or whatever. Well, when you have this clear, you could have the green very easy. What is the minimum practices that you expect? And we should have another in the middle. This is the yellow. And when you have this clear, you can put together the civic participation working with one direction. Well, we have here the Annex B. You can see processes. And you have here all the system of these 4 quadrants in the operational process, with management processes and support processes, knowing well the needs and expectations of citizens and trying to get the satisfaction of the customer citizens in the plan, do, check, act, and with the risk-based thinking as ISO 9000 have. Well, there is the Annex C, Citizen Observatory. We developed nearly 46 comprehensive citizen observatory in the world. We created 20 citizen observatory in the 20 local governments and one in the middle for all the 20. And it was in 2013. I went to Bogota again in 2019, 3 governmental periods after that, and la veeduría distrital de Bogotá asked me if we can have a session with the Citizen Observatory, and they were there, at least 17 of the 21. Years later, in Los Cabos, Baja California Sur, in Mexico, we have a citizen observatory that fulfilled 10 years of citizen observation in the local government. And for 5 administrations from different parties. This international standard helps to measure what do you expect. And the reds are still there. It's very sad, but it is true. The reds are there, still there. When I went to the new mayor, when he presented his development plan, I asked to him, well, you have a challenge. You have, for every year, more than 500 pieces of papers describing your government. This is the local government in Mexico better assess, and you have a challenge. You cannot allow to have rents for the next year. If you do that, you are going to be brilliant. And now we are in the position to do that, to show with these 20 municipal governments, with the fractal principle. What is it? When you have a drop of blood, you can discover the ADN of any body. And if you analyze that, and you do things with this blood of drop of blood, you can change everything. We can do that just with 20 or 10 in each of these 57 countries. We can do that. Well, this is Citizen Observatory doing their work. And look, here is the Annex D. You have the 17 development goals below, are the 17 development goals, are small boxes. We take out the pieces and we put in this larger map, which is the ISO 18091 Annex A. And you can see how they work in relation with this model, integrated, a comprehensive model. And it works.
First of all, thank you very much. That was incredible work and very impressive what you have achieved. I think this is very valuable standard, and I work myself with it always, so thank you very much for this. I have maybe more a technical question. there is a standard 37100, which is called Sustainable Cities and Communities, and it doesn't cover, of course, as big scope as 18091, but it approaches two elements of those four categories that you were talking about. One is sustainable economic growth, and the second one is sustainable environment, right? So now it's two or three, I think, right? So I wonder if there is a benefit of having synergies with this committee, or is there more an overlap in competition? What do you see? Shall I give the name of the? It's called Sustainable Cities and Communities, 37100.
Now, of course, one of the aspects is like it's also part of the CDG is number 11, is the sustainable development of the city. Now, the standard that you were talking about, it was a very specific, very only on one aspect, on this one. Now, this model doesn't say you cannot use on different areas specific standards in order to, let's say, go deeper and find more details, how to implement your actions. So this is the relation, and you can find many other standards actually that will help you. If you take, for example, all the standards of 309, 3609 on governance, of course you have governance, and you have to follow all the governance rules and so on, and it's one of the aspects. So I think this is the relation. So this is the general model. It gives you all the aspects that you should take care of. It doesn't tell you how to do it in each of them. And then you have to look for ways to do it. And one of the ways is that. But that's also what is interesting that this is TC 268, and the secretariat is in flow. So you have it in Europe.
First of all, congratulations, Carlos and Francisco, on all the team of the foundation of the government, vertical governance. I saw the development of these standards from IMA to ISO for about 15 years. And I think that the most important of this standard is like an umbrella because integrate different standards, not is versus other standards, right? Is integrate and also provide a minimum key indicator, the minimum and vital indicator to manage an improvement and take a decision making in the local governments. This is the most important aspect I see. Because in the other standards, no appears indicators, but in this standard is specific for different items, right? I think that the most important duty of this committee is disseminate this standard because I think that, especially in Peru, is that corruption is very proud and it's a disaster, sorry. But I think that the most important power of this standard is the combat corruption and put transparency in local governments.
Thank you, Erika.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very comprehensive. So, you see this standard is very comprehensive and covers all the aspects. Do you consider that this could be also an advantage because some local governments or even regional or national governments could feel overwhelmed for too many kind of indicators of aspects to follow what is that thing?
Please.
Thank you. Soraya Lastra from I just have one question about how to collect all the initiatives or all the success cases, because it will be through any liaisons officers or will be through the ISO members, because local governments are many members. So it will be maybe difficult for example, for the standards body to collect this kind of initiatives because not always those members participate in the quality management, which is the mirror committee, right? For example, I think it works the same in the world. So how this will be effective collected, because it will be for the ISO members, but it will maybe take more time than maybe it could be through liaisons officer. How do you have to think about it?
Yes.
I think that is the good opportunity to have to change another standard like a working group, because it's very specific for governments. I think it's okay. I support that.
Perfect. Thank you. Erika Cabero from Peru.
Bien, pues a manera de resumen, esto que vemos es más o menos lo que se ha vivido del día de ayer y antier en Perú, en estas sesiones de la Asamblea 176 de la ISO. Eh, y bueno, también nos gustaría escuchar pues sus apreciaciones sobre la ISO, sobre esta iniciativa de renovación. Algo breve, incluso también las mismas dudas, como lo veíamos hace rato al final de este video. Si tienen todavía incluso dudas o algún comentario que quisieran hacer, todavía tenemos 5 minutitos para esta sesión. Quien guste. Ana Paola, adelante.
Hola, buenos días. Sí, yo tengo dudas acerca de los observatorios ciudadanos. ¿Cómo es que los hacen funcionar? O sea, entiendo que es un grupo de líderes dentro de la sociedad, incluso algunos trabajadores propios del gobierno local, pero ¿cuál es como el estímulo que reciben los ciudadanos para formar parte de estos observatorios?
Ok. Por acá está Margarita Díaz, que ya tiene mucho tiempo dentro de un observatorio ciudadano. No sé si nos pudieras compartir, Margarita.
Mm. Buenos días para mí, buenas tardes para muchos. El Observatorio Ciudadano se integra con ciudadanos que voluntariamente se integran, forman, en este caso nosotros nos integramos una asociación civil para tener personalidad jurídica, pero en realidad es un grupo de ciudadanos. El requisito que nosotros pusimos en los cargos es que no sean dirigentes de ningún partido político y que no sean servidores públicos. O sea, somos ciudadanos que voluntariamente damos nuestro tiempo para evaluar, sí, y verificar, más que evaluar, para verificar el desempeño del gobierno municipal. El estímulo que recibimos, pues, es la propia evaluación del municipio, saber cómo es la situación real del municipio en su desempeño en las 39 políticas públicas. No recibimos no nos pagan, no recibimos ninguna remuneración económica. Los gastos los hacemos nosotros mismos. Nosotros tenemos que procurar nuestros propios recursos para operar el observatorio. El municipio ni queremos ni le pedimos. Nuestra política es no recibir ningún financiamiento del gobierno, de ningún gobierno, sino todo es absolutamente ciudadano. Y pues lo que hacemos es capacitarnos en la norma, capacitarnos en lo que es la ISO 18091 y la 18091 en su anexo nos proporciona los parámetros que el municipio debe de cumplir para calificarse en verde, amarillo o rojo. Cada una de las 39 políticas públicas tiene parámetros. Esto se subdivide entonces a su vez en 367 subindicadores con sus parámetros en donde se especifica cómo considerarlo verde, cómo considerarlo amarillo, cómo considerarlo rojo. Entonces, nosotros como trabajamos es que el propio municipio hace su autoevaluación, o sea, se le entrega un cuestionario, una especie de cuestionario, un formulario a los servidores públicos donde ellos deben autoevaluarse en cada uno de esos parámetros. Ellos nos dicen, bueno, en relación a esta política, sí estamos, y nos presentan las evidencias para poderse calificar o para poderse ubicar en el verde, amarillo, rojo. Lo que hacemos en el observatorio es revisar esa autoevaluación que el servidor público hace con base a las evidencias que nos presentan. Entonces, si, por ejemplo, una actividad, si decimos, tienes las leyes, los reglamentos, las normas, los acuerdos. Sí, sí lo tengo, entonces se los pedimos que nos los den físicamente, o sea, nos los dan digitalmente, o físicamente, pero que nos den la evidencia real. Y entonces decimos, ok, sí, está actualizado, no está actualizado. Entonces, de ahí, en base a la evidencia que el servidor público nos da y la autoevaluación que el propio servidor público se hace, nosotros revisamos con ellos y hacemos lo que llamamos una mesa de pactos, es decir, hacemos una revisión conjunta y entonces, de hecho, es un acuerdo con ellos de que pues estás en amarillo o estás en verde o te quedas en rojo. No sé si más o menos te digo, o, no sé si contesté la pregunta.
Sí, muchas gracias. Esa era mi pregunta. Y una pregunta extra. En su experiencia, bueno, como vimos la conferencia del doctor Garzón, ustedes son los que más tiempo llevan con sus observatorios ciudadanos. ¿Cuánto tardan ustedes como observatorio en evaluar en su totalidad un gobierno local?
Nosotros lo hacemos cada año. Entonces, al principio de la administración, en este caso, estamos al inicio, en el primer año de la administración municipal, empezó en octubre. Entonces, nosotros empezamos en octubre con la entrevista con el presidente municipal, en donde le entregamos los resultados del año anterior. Entonces le decimos, así estás recibiendo la administración, así es, esta es la situación actual del municipio ahorita. Y entonces pues ya le entregamos, tenía un 30% en rojo, tenía un 15% verde nada más. Y entonces le digo, y aquí pues me dijo, ¿qué pasa? Pues la tarea es quitar los rojos. Entonces él nos programó una reunión con todo el gabinete en donde presentamos lo que es la norma y los resultados que estábamos presentando de la administración anterior. Y ahí se hizo el plan de trabajo junto con el presidente municipal, todo el gabinete y pues con los servidores públicos que cada uno nombra su enlace. Trabajamos con 84 dependencias municipales que cada una evalúa sus propios parámetros. Empezamos entonces en octubre para enero, febrero, ya todos los servidores públicos tenían sus propios cuestionarios, sus propios formularios para contestar y tuvieron de enero a mayo para contestar, para hacer una autoevaluación. Evaluamos en este caso, bueno, nos entregaron en junio, entonces se evaluó de octubre a mayo en este caso y esta primera etapa del gobierno municipal, más o menos es lo que nos llevamos los primeros 6 meses del año, y luego nos lleva 2 meses en integrar los resultados, en revisar con ellos la evaluación y elaborar físicamente el documento. Y aquí pues ya tenemos, ahorita estamos, en septiembre entregamos los resultados globales del resultado, ahorita estamos afinando el diagnóstico, estamos afinando el informe ya con todos los detalles. ¿Por qué? Porque es un insumo para el presidente municipal para su informe anual. De hecho, nos pidieron la información, viene el informe anual del presidente, va a cumplir apenas un año en su administración y aquí cerramos el ciclo. Y entonces ya cerrando en octubre, en noviembre empezamos con el siguiente año. Entonces ya analizamos, tenemos los primeros meses para revisar con detalle, o sea, esa es la intención. La intención es que se revise el resultado del primer año de la administración y con los propios servidores públicos. Invitamos también a muchas organizaciones de la sociedad civil, las cámaras, los colegios, o sea, todos los que podemos, los que quieren. O sea, invitamos a los que se quieran sumar en el análisis de los resultados, pero el programa se vuelve a hacer con el presidente municipal y de noviembre a enero, febrero más o menos se analiza la información y se empieza a trabajar con la evaluación del siguiente año, que esperamos volver a cerrar en junio. Y entonces ya cerraríamos ahora sí el año, estaríamos cerrando el año completo de la administración, pero estaríamos otra vez evaluando desde que entraron en octubre hasta junio del siguiente año. Entonces ya estaríamos evaluando el segundo año de la administración, ya tenemos 12 meses completos. No sé si
Gracias, gracias.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Gracias.
Bien, pues por esta sesión ha sido todo. Nos veríamos, Dios mediante, la siguiente sesión el próximo jueves. Recuerden que estas sesiones de capacitación estaríamos, pues bueno, previendo ya acercarnos al siguiente evento internacional, que sería el de Barcelona. ¿Sale? Entonces, para que también vayamos conociendo cuáles son los siguientes eventos que se tienen en torno a la ISO 18091. Por nuestra parte, ha sido todo. Muchísimas gracias. Seguimos en contacto.